Victor Cha gives a lecture in Seoul, South Korea, January 18, 2017, from YONHAP, EPA, Rex, Shutterstock. Despite the heated rhetoric coming out of the White House, elite opinion in Washington has long held that even a limited military strike against North Korea would provoke a horrific retaliatory attack that could leave millions dead. There's no military solution. Forget it. Former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon conceded, in an extraordinary moment of candor last summer, shortly before he was fired. Until somebody solves the part of the equation that shows me that 10 million people in Seoul don't die in the first 30 minutes from conventional weapons, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no military solution here. They got us. Many experts in international affairs are already resigned to the fact that the standoff over Pyongyang's nuclear weapons ambitions will most likely settle into an uneasy Cold War. Over the last several weeks, however, there have been a number of troubling signs that Donald Trump's rhetoric is more than just an effort to ramp up pressure on Beijing to tighten the screws on its client state, or to force Kim Jong Un to the negotiating table. Earlier this month, The Wall Street Journal reported that the Trump administration is quietly debating a limited military attack known as a Bloody Nose, in which the U.S. would react to destabilizing North Korean behavior with a targeted, perhaps symbolic strike against the Kim regime. The following week, tensions eased again amid news that North and South Korea had agreed to march together under one flag at the Winter Olympics in Pyongyang, a potential first step toward détente, if not reunification. But this past weekend, something happened that put Korea watchers on edge. After nearly a year-long vetting process, the White House abruptly abandoned plans to nominate Victor Cha, a veteran career expert who served in the George W. Bush administration, as the U.S. ambassador to South Korea. Cha had received all his security clearances and had been approved in principle by South Korea. According to the Washington Post, however, the West Wing had turned against Cha after he expressed concerns about plans for a potential Bloody Nose attack, as well as his reservations about Trump's threats to tear up a bilateral trade deal with Seoul. For critics who were already alarmed by the administration's bluster about a preemptive strike, Cha's sudden excommunication was a deeply worrying sign. https://twitter.com/maxboot/status/95844095960336794 potentially confirming those fears. On Tuesday, Cha published an op-ed in the Post taking the Trump administration to task for its North Korea strategy. The answer is not, as some Trump administration officials have suggested, a preventive military strike, Cha writes, urging the White House to see reason. I empathize with the hope, espoused by some Trump officials, that a military strike would shock Pyongyang into appreciating U.S. strength, after years of inaction, and force the regime to the denuclearization negotiating table, he continues. I also hope that if North Korea did retaliate militarily, the United States could control the escalation ladder to minimize collateral damage and prevent a collapse of financial markets. Yet, there is a point at which hope must give in to logic. If we believe that Kim is undeterrable without such a strike, how can we also believe that a strike will deter him from responding in kind? And if Kim is unpredictable, impulsive, and bordering on irrational, how can we control the escalation ladder, which is premised on an adversary's rational understanding of signals and deterrence? Current and former State Department staffers I spoke with shortly after the Journal report have expressed the same concerns. I think most folks at State, especially the career hands, feel it would be a big mistake, one current State Department staffer told me. It would end work, and it would unnecessarily imperil and undermine our alliance with Seoul and put Japan at great risk. It would also likely force the Chinese to revert to greater defense of their neighbor. At the same time, they explained, there is no obvious solution to the North Korean crisis, short of learning to live with a nuclear Pyongyang or all-out war. There aren't good answers, one former Foreign Service officer who served in an East Asian country told me earlier this month. The DPRK is an unstable dictatorship that has serious weapons. Hard to solve, but the goal has to be to move them away from tests, threats, and lower the tensions. Cha echoed the sentiment, in the land of lousy options, no strategy is perfect, but some are better than others. According to his op-ed, a better strategy would include continuing Rex Tillerson's maximum pressure campaign, strengthening the U.S. alliances with Japan and South Korea while building up both preventative and non-preventative military assets in the region. Force will be necessary to deal with North Korea if it attacks first, but not through a preventive strike that could start a nuclear war. Donald Trump, so far, seems to be moving in the other direction. The same day that the Post reported Cha had been rejected for the South Korea post, Lieutenant General Paul Selva, the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said the U.S. military is confident it could get at most of Kim's infrastructure if it needed to eliminate the North Korean threat. As former Vice Presidential National Security Advisor Colin Cole notes, the drumbeat of war has recently added a number of North Korea hawks. One column written earlier this month, by Edward Luttwak, is entitled simply, "It's Time to Bomb North Korea." In his State of the Union address Tuesday night, Trump declared, "I will not repeat the mistakes of the past administrations that got us into this dangerous position. Nuclear weapons," he warned, "could very soon threaten our homeland. But if the actions of past administrations, which mostly worked to contain Pyongyang, are defined as mistakes, then there are effectively no options left except some form of war. Whether such an engagement could be limited to a bloody nose strike, or whether that is wishful thinking, remains to be seen." Cha, for one, argued that Kim is too unpredictable to bet on that strategy. Trump, who may rival Kim in impulsivity, apparently disagreed.